Okay. Chitta shuddha hos, mero boli buddha hos. Mero paitalale kirai na maros. Beautiful beings, thank you all for being here. Let's start with a small exercise that'll help us connect more with each other. I'd like to ask you all to take a deep breath in and let it out. That breath is a form of connection. Breathing is in fact the strongest form of connection that we share, not just with the people in this room, but even the species beyond this room. Somewhere in Manang, the snow leopards is breathing with you. The leaves of the trees is swaying with you while you're breathing as well. Your dog waiting patiently at home is also breathing with you. Breath is that powerful connection. For me, the understanding that I had about how we connect with the natural world, I'd like to give all my credit to my lovely dog. She's 13 years old, and really, it's her inspiration that really opened my eyes towards the compassion, the unconditional love that the natural world holds. I hope you guys have dogs back home too, and they're lovely creatures. But you know what they say, dogs are the windows to understanding the broader world. They're so loyal to you, they love you unconditionally, they're so always around you as well. And I think they really open up this understanding in us that we don't need a certain language, not even English, not even Nepali. That form of connection, perhaps breathing, perhaps the heartbeat, is enough to build that connection with each other. For me, breathing was not necessarily always easy. I might not be the only one, but I've had a hard time to really breathe. And I remember the first thing that I did in college was sign up for free therapy sessions before I signed up for any courses. I wanted to understand how my mind and my body works so that I could breathe freely. Have you ever felt like your legs are tied with this heavy chain, you're trapped in this room, and it's just too small for you to grow inside? And when I went to my therapist, she said that it's because of binary thinking. Binary thinking. I wanted to be a perfect daughter, a perfect friend as well, a perfect student, and I had this complex rule book with a list of yes, with a list of no, with a list of right, with a list of wrong, and the world was black and white, and I was trapped in that black and white film in a small TV box. It's not a really great feeling. So after every therapy session, I would go to this field called the end of the world. It's like when you reach there, you can see the stars, you can see the galaxies, and it's a beautiful meadow that just leads to nowhere. I would go there and ask myself all of the questions that I had about me. And I would ask about nature to myself and reflect a lot. The more I did that, the more I realized nature and I are just the same. We are one. But nature and I were particularly different because she could breathe freely. She embraced differences. She loved being around and taking care of diverse range of species. And I was kind of trapped in this binary thinking, in this hierarchical system. And you cannot blame a 19-year-old or 20-something-year-old for thinking that way. Because when you think about it, that is what we have been taught. We have been given a book of rules of what is right, what is wrong. We want to fit in a certain box. This species is more intelligent than the other, and not quite than the other. We're kind of divided because of all these hierarchies and segments separating us from one another. So at the end of the world, the other thing that I did often was I would go there and ask the stars this one question that author Mary Oliver used to ask. And I would encourage you all to think about it. The question goes, what is it that you plan to do with this one precious and wild life that you have? And every time the answer, year after year, I would ask myself day after day, and every time it became clear that I wanted to pay gratitude to that dog back home who was always cheering for me, those trees who loved me unconditionally, the rivers flowing for all of us. And so that is what I ended up studying. I wanted to understand how can I tap more into this innate compassion that we all have. You know, when you just breathe freely, you're allowing yourself to be compassionate to yourself and the species around you. So in that thesis, and I know whenever I use the word thesis, it might sound like such a heavy workload with lots of theories, lots of pages of writings, and it is that. But at the same time, it was so meditative for me. It was like I was untying this tight pair of sneakers that I had on for way too long, and I was finally getting to go in the field and run wherever I want. The thesis really talked about this concept of entanglement and interaction. Why would we want to love someone who is different than us? If you want to ask, it's the same question as why would you want to love yourself? Because when you look at different physics theories and concepts, the light particles are not interacting in the name of just clashing with one another. Each light particle also is cutting each other apart, diverging into a diverse field of different colors, and like us too. Although we are like one entity, one body, we also have a huge diversity inside of us. You know, when my therapist told me about the binary thinking, that I was split between the black and white, I realized that is when I should start opening up to other colors, other personalities within me, other possibilities of love within me. And once I started doing that, I could slowly understand the differences that exist outside of us. Differences as a matter of celebration, as a matter of beautiful colors. Isn't that beautiful? When you think about it, we cannot be just bottled up in a certain container anymore. You're one that is growing beyond into different colors, unimaginable shapes and sizes as well. So for me, that realization was really freeing. And when I looked at the outer world and I did some various internships and I really wanted to work in the climate field, I realized that very connection, that very compassion is what is missing all along. How can we connect more with the world around us? How can we include different lenses? I call it the multi-species lenses. Have you ever stopped to think about what kind of world would the dogs back home want? What kind of world would the birds want? What kind of world would the trees want to live in? What kind of world would the mountains want to be in? I think no matter whatever work we do, we should start asking this question. For me, my next step is taking multi-species world building to Miss World and beyond so that we start redefining the definition of world. The world includes a wide range of species, a beautiful diversity of wildlife, and also a different possibility for us ourselves. So, I'll leave with one important question to you all. What kind of world do you want to live in? And before you answer that, let's tap into that compassion in our heart and let's end it with the same exercise that we started with. I'd like to again introduce the breathing exercise, but this time, let's remember with every breath, let's cherish the diversity within us, and with every exhale, let's spread and cherish the diversity around us with a lot more compassion. So inhale and exhale. Thank you. Thanks. Okay.